Hey guys, 74 318 roadrunner, doing a cam and intake swap. Not the cam I would have picked for it, but it's what the owner bought. It's a Hughes engine. Not that I have anything against Hughes engines, but I'm kind of partial to comp cams. But it's cool. I get to see how like a Hughes profile works. But anyway, first things first is I'm going to have to pull the heads off this car because they're going to swap out the valve springs. I get kind of cheat and get like a tool that will compress the spring on the motor. What you got to do is pressurize the cylinder with compressed air to hold the valve closed. But I want to take the heads off so I can lap the valves in, check out everything, you know, the seats, the guides, make sure the heads are good. I believe they are because this car doesn't smoke and it runs great. I don't have the tool to do it on car, and where this is a shaft system, it's an odd tool to like define. I don't know anyone that has one. I thought I did, but the guy doesn't. But anyway, I gotta pull the exhaust manifolds off, and what this entails is dealing with rusty hardware. And as you can see, the car's running. It's been running for a while. I've actually driven the car for a few miles. And what that will do is heat the studs and the nuts and the bolts. So you can go right in here and turn them off easily now without running the risk of breaking any, because these aren't very big. They're like 5/16, I think. As you see, you get on them, and they come free real easy once the engine's hot. Anyway, I wanted to throw that in there right away. Don't know how much I'm going to video this because, you know, it's a customer car. I'm on a time frame, but I'll do the best I can. Probably not going to do step by step, but I'm going to try to do what I can. So anyway, I'm going to get all the manifold bolts out. Some of these go into water. The front and the back one, I believe, are wet. I don't remember. Anyway, I'll be back when there's more hill. I got to get all these free. Shut the car off, let it cool down, drain the coolant system, drain the oil, pull the pan down. Basically, all you got to do is get all your pan bolts except for the last two out back, and what that will allow the pan to do is tilt down so your timing cover comes off easy. But anyway, I'll be back. Hey, I want to make a note on this. If you're unhooking your battery, for any reason, always do your negative first. Why? Because if you fucking put a little monkey grease into it, and when that breaks free and your wrench hits metal, it's not going to arc. This doesn't do any harm. But if for some freak reason you're on that positive cable, and you hit metal with your negative hooked up, you're going to arc and you can short the battery out. You can do some damage. So, unhook the negative first. Okay guys, I don't know how much you can fucking see, but not much I guess. But anyway, get the heads off, get it all apart. Get to the point where I got to pull the cam out. Got to pull the lifters first, the oil pump drive. Then you see the timing chain. There's war right the fuck out. And of course the owner didn't think to get one when he got the cam. Nor did he get gaskets and all the associated stuff. He had a cam lifter and springs. So I'm going to paw around, see if I have one. If not, I'm going to hope I can get one through Napa or whatever, or CarQuest tomorrow, because I really want this done this weekend. don't know how long I've been working on it. It's 7, call it 8 o'clock right now. I started at 6:30. So an hour and a half to tear this apart. And I charge by the day. I don't charge by the hour. This guy's used to, spending, $25 an hour to have his shit worked on and get it all fucked up. I charge $100 a day. It's going to cost about $200 in labor to do this. $100, somewhere around there. Motor's pretty fucking clean. You look at the Vic and valve covers, and nice clean motor. Somebody took care of it, and this is supposed to be a low mileage car. Oh, and by the way, this is a numbers matching 318 Roadrunner. It was bought under the pretext of its original paint, but it's not. I mean, that's more than obvious to me. But the person that bought it, he thought it was original. Although it is a nice fucking paint job on it. It looks original. The little slight orange peel. It's not a perfect paint job, and these never came from the factory with a perfect paint job. So, to the untrained eye, it looks like it'd be original paint, but once you get looking, you can see overspray on stuff and where they've masked stuff off and whatnot, but it's a nice fucking car. And what amazes me is everything's under the hood. All the tags, the labels, the belts are in the trunk. It's got, replacement belts on it now. But all the hoses and everything's all original. It's fucking cool. Clamps, even though I hate the style of clamps, everything's original. And I'm putting everything back in the trunk for the owner to keep in case it ever needs to go back original. And I'm even going to keep this fucking camshaft. I guess that's it for now. He's trying to track down the heads I did for him last year for a 340. We ended up putting aluminum heads on them. And he's trying to track those heads down, and we'll put those on instead of these. I don't know why, but whatever. I'm not going to let him hold me up. If you don't get to me tomorrow, these heads are going back on once I put the springs in them. There's no real ridge. There's a slight wear ridge in it. And for those that care, when you get your motor this far apart, you can technically bring your piston down to bottom dead center and run the hone through it real quick. Just try not to hit the piston. It's pretty clean, and it's not carboned that much. But anyway, I'm going to shut the fuck up and finish pulling this apart. I'm going to get the cam out. I'll probably call it a night once I get the cam out of it. And try to get a timing chain tomorrow or find one here. Okay, as I mentioned before in my other videos, when I save the lifters, this is what I do with them. Put them in a old box. I mark for the next or just right front on the box. Don't be a fucking moron like I had before and mark the cover. Gotta mark this box. Because if for some reason you pull the cover off and flip it, your lifter's going to go in backwards. And you're going to wear your lobes off your cam. So mark the actual box. And take them out of the motor and place them in the box in the same order that they are in the motor. So you can put these right back on that cam and be good to go. And it's a good idea to kind of write on the box or put a piece of tape on it and write on it what the lifters are for, so you don't get mixed up with the cams. I've got a shitload of cams over there with lifters, and you got to mark everything or it'll get away from you. And as you can see, I got 2 rows of used camshafts here, and everything's got to be marked and go together, or you're just going to waste the cam. But anyway, I'm going to pull the cam out now. Hey guys, I'm doing the springs right now. We got one off, and to do this you need some form of spring compressor. I use a pneumatic one. For these springs, a hand one will work. You know, the big clamp one like this with the lever on it. But roller springs, you definitely need one of them. But anyway, one thing you got to check here is on the cam card, you see what the lift is with a 1:5 ratio. 5/18, which is quite a bit for these small blocks. You need to make sure you have the clearance for that to lift over 1/2 inch between here and the guides. So what I did is I set the caliper at 520, which is 20 thousandths over 1/2 inch, because your 0.5 would be 1/2 inch. We got a 0.518, so I'm going to go to 520. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this on the flat in the head. Then I'm going to open the fucking valve till it touches the caliper. So there's a 520. And as you see, we got a little bit of space there. So we're clear on the for this 5/18, it's not going to be a problem. Shits and giggles, you want to check out the 522, I mean the 552. So a 552. Right there. Fucking valve won't stay up. As you can see, it's hitting. So there's not enough room to run a 1:6 ratio on this with this cam. And the solution would be get a longer valve. The guides feel good. They're not loose. They're nice and tight. The ports are dry, so the seals are doing the job. What you want to do is wiggle your valve this, side to side. You don't want a lot of slop, but there's got to be a little wiggle there for heat expansion. Difference in springs. As you can see, the stock spring is just a spring. It's an outer spring. This open probably has 120 pounds. I mean, I can put it in the spring measure and measure it. And here's their Hughes springs with a dampener in it. This is probably 100 pounds on the seat, somewhere around there, 110. I don't know if they got a spring card on them or not. Nope, not seeing one. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, 135 on the seat. That's closed. And you really want to run the springs that the cam needs. Like if you were to put this cam together with these springs, what you get is called valve float. And what that is, that spring can't rebound enough to keep the valve closed. Because the lobe on the cam is so aggressive, when that valve is trying to close, it's actually hitting the seat and bouncing instead of being sucked shut with the spring. Anyway, I'm going to throw these. Okay, the next thing I want to check is the ports between the heads and the intake. I'm going to set the gasket in place. Now if you look, see, we got quite a bit of overhang in here. Some in the middle. It's mostly here on the edges. A little bit on the floor. Now, we checked out with our intake. The sides are a lot better than the head. The floor is better. You got a little bit extra on the roof, which is fine. That helps during fucking overlap when mixture's trying to go backwards. It helps stop it. Ideally, you want your head port a little bit smaller. I mean, your intake port a little bit smaller than the head port to help stop reversion. So, since this is apart, I'm going to dig the die grinder out and clean this up a little bit, get rid of some of this obstruction. Okay, we got one done. And as you can see, it fits the gasket good now. So now, the head hole, your port, is a little bit bigger than the intake port. Now this isn't really going to help flow per se. If I just put this head on the flow bench and flow it, then do this and flow it again, I'm not really going to see any gain. But if you bolt the intake to this head and flow it, separate them, do this, and flow it again, you will see a gain, because you're not going to have this big ridge trying to stop your air and fuel from coming in. So you can see it fits good now. All I do is this. I kind of melt it a little bit. Just come out to the gasket, then blend everything in. And in the divider, you usually feel a lump out here. I blend in, pretty much remove that. But the idea is not to go in and change the port or the design. And the intake, I'm not going to touch. I'm going to leave it the fuck alone. Anyway, I wanted to show you that, so I'm going to do the next one now. Hey guys, I kind of lost you there for a little while yesterday. I set the camera down, couldn't find it. I just found it this morning. I'm to the point, well, to this point. I really want to do the harmonic balancer with you guys, but this is got to get done. I can't fuck around, and I couldn't wait to find the camera. Buy the tool. Don't beat them onto the hammer. It doesn't matter if you use a block of wood across the front. Don't beat them on. Two reasons. One, which is the biggest reason as far as I'm concerned, is when you're beating on that, you're driving your crankshaft out the back of the motor, and you can bust your thrust bearing doing it. I've seen it done. Don't do it. Buy the fucking tool. Make a tool. You can use threaded rod, the big nut, a couple flat washers, whatever works. And two, it's a two-piece design. You get your center hub and your outer ring, and they're basically glued together. And when you're beating on that center ring, the outer ring is going to want to come off. And yeah, a block of wood across the face of it can kind of stop that, but it's not going to. Because what can happen is you can break that bond by beating on it, and it will spin on your balancer and start working the way off. Buy the tool. They're cheap. They're worth it. If you're only going to do this once, go rent the tool for Napa or whatever. Fuck, I leave off. Heads. Heads are done. I didn't touch the exhaust side. The exhaust ports in the head is smaller than the exhaust manifold, and that's the way you want it. I got to modify the throttle bracket. See, this intake sets up high compared to the factory one. And this needs to be up here now somehow to line up with the carburetor. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this probably right here, and add to it so it sets up higher. And the kickdown rod, I'm probably going to have to lengthen that out back in the short section here where it's straight. And just cut it, put a piece in and weld it back together. I just got back from the hardware store. One thing I hate about, buying these fucking parts, you're paying good money for them. That intake's almost $200 fucking dollars. The least they could do is send you the fucking plugs, a new fucking neck, you know what I mean? Because you're never going to get that old neck out of your old intake. So what's the next option? Going to the hardware store and buying a little piece of pipe to screw into it. For the fucking $2, what's it cost? $2 for that little piece of pipe. They could have sent one with it. Other than that, the intake fits great. It's a Wien Action Plus. As you can see, the floor has ridges, and when you put an intake on, that's what you want, is a patterned floor. You don't want a flat floor like the Performer intake. It's a piece of shit. You're better off with the factory intake. What that does is it atomizes the fuel in with the air. It keeps it bouncing around and tumbling, so it doesn't have the tendency to separate and just kind of like slide down through. It keeps it suspended in the air where it's supposed to be. This one and the Wien Stealth, I really like the Wien Stealth. If this guy would have asked me about parts, it would have had a Wien Stealth on it, not the Action Plus, but it'll be fine. I guess that's it. Put the distributor in like I normally do. I can just sit down here and show this to you. You see the 0 mark right there. So I am 2, 4, 6 degrees before top dead center, and that's where you want to drop your distributor in, is before top dead center. That way this car will start as soon as it gets gas. Because normally, if you watch videos or if you've done this, you put it in at 0, and you crank the car, try to get it started, and it won't, so you turn the distributor. You do it again. Sometimes you get a backfire or a puff, so you got to turn it some more. Then eventually it will start. You don't want that. You want this fucking thing to start instantly. And by all means, do not unhook your coil wire and crank this fucking thing over the starter trying to get oil pressure. You're gonna ruin it. That's about it, I guess. I'm waiting on a thermostat gasket right now and the throttle adapter for the carburetor. And why the owner bought this piece of shit, I don't know. Actually, I do know because I asked him. Now, this guy has had these carburetors. He's had a lot of them. And every fucking one he's taken off and put a holley on because they suck. Well, I asked him last night, why the hell did you buy this piece of shit? Well, what happened is he got on a forum site, and that's how this all came about. Keep in mind, the people in the forums, they ain't got a fucking clue. That's why they're there. But anyway, they make an adapter piece that bolts on here for the Mopar throttle linkage, and I think Ford has one too. And that way you can hook up your kick down and your throttle cable, and it's correct. Yeah, that's enough for now, I guess. I'm gonna bolt this on. And he is supposed to come out today. Oh, I'm going to do a shift kit on it too. He had one at his house. And I noticed when I drove the car here the other day that it had a slight shudder at low speed. So we're going to put a shift kit in it, which will probably complement this cam a little bit. Yeah, so we're going to shut the fuck up now. Hey guys, I'm just putting oil in it. I wanted to make a comment here. This is a must-have, the flat tappet cam. No matter if it's hydraulic or mechanical. You gotta have this fucking additive. If not, you're gonna wipe your cam out. That little pack of the lube that they send with the cam isn't enough to break it in. All that's for is so it doesn't start dry. The Rotella diesel oil helps. There is zinc in it. But it's not just the zinc, it's the other products that are in the zinc. Phosphorus and stuff. But it's a must-have. I gotta wire the choke up. Right now I just got a rubber hose going from the pump to the carb. I'm waiting on CarQuest to show up the hard line. I didn't want to cut the original tube up. So I got some coming. I'm going to make a fuel line, but I don't want to wait for them. I want to get this thing running and break the cam in. Okay, I'm ready to fire this up. Before I did, what I did is I took an old gear oil bottle because it's got that pointed snout, you know, the cap, put gas in it, and with that hose, I filled the carburetor with gas. I got the timing set in at around 8 degrees advanced, so this thing should start right up. So I do get enough fucking throttle to it. I don't have the linkage hooked up yet. Now we gotta sit and let the cam break in, so we gotta do this for 20 minutes. Let it run at over 2 grand. And every now and then, what I do is I whack the throttle. That allows oil to splash around even more inside your crankcase and lubricate your camshaft. And when you're doing this, you want to watch your temperature gauge. You don't want it to overheat. I gotta do this for 20 minutes, so I'll be back later. That's when I'm gonna start tuning the carburetor and set timing and all that shit. Okay, this is the Hughes fucking whiplash cam, and I gotta tell you, there's no danger at all of getting whiplash from it. This car went better before. The owner shouldn't even have touched it. And if he did, he should at least put a fucking comp cam in it, not a fucking Hughes. And definitely not an Edelbrock. Long story short, stay off of forums. Them people on there don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's why they're there. Someone's here, I gotta go. I sent him a video of it running. He is pretty fucking pissed right now because it doesn't sound cool like the Hughes claimed it would, and it went better before. Okay guys, here we are 2 weeks later, maybe 3, but I think it's 2. With the Roadrunner, I put the Hughes whiplash cam in. The owner don't like it. This car went a lot better before with just a stock cam in it. The Edelbrock doesn't help it much. So we got a comp camera put in it. Not the one I would have put in it, but I can make it work. It's an Extreme Energy 268, which is what I put in the 340 I did for his Challenger. And it goes good in the Challenger. It's got 355 gears. You know, at 35, 40 miles an hour, the Challenger will put down rubber when you step on it. Where this has 323 gears, so you'd want to make a little more torque. So, technically, you probably should have had a 265 cam instead of the 268. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance the cam when I put it in this. But anyway, it's going to have a better idle, you know, a little bit more rumble to it. But anyway, here's the before and after. I don't know if you can see these. But this is a stock cam. That's the stock cam before. You got, I don't know, 10 feet probably, maybe a little bit more than 10 feet. That was from a dead stop, just punching it. And here we got the Hughes cam. What, 3 feet maybe? Yeah, real radical cam you guys got there, Hughes. Now, this guy bought this cam with, like, technically without my permission. He sent me the link to it through an email, said, hey, I just got this for the roadrunner. I'll have it in a couple of days, can you put it in? When I clicked on the link and read the specs, I emailed him right back, said it's going to be a fucking turd. You're going to lose all bottom end, and that's what happened. You know, and the Edelbrock isn't helping none either. But anyway, I'm going to pull it apart. I put the comp cam in it, and a Holley 600 double pumper on it. So, okay guys, I'm getting ready to dive into this. I've already got some stuff off. What I want to do is do a compression test first. I really don't know how to state this. What it boils down to is cylinder pressure, not so much compression ratios. What affects your cylinder pressure is your cam timing. Now let's say this motor is 8-to-1. It has a 265 cam on a 110 lobe separation. And you do a compression test, say you get 200 pounds. Now you take that cam out and you put, say, a 270 cam in it on a 110 and do another compression test. Well, you're going to find that instead of raising your cylinder pressure, you actually lowered it. And the only way to get the performance back to that motor with that cam would be to raise your compression. So what I want to do is I want to do a cylinder test right now to see what this Hughes cam is giving me for cylinder pressure. Then I want to do it again after I put the comp cam in and see how much I've gained. I really can't read the fucking gauge because I got so much overspray on it, so I'm going to pop the lens off. Then I'll hook it up. Okay, now to do this, once you get your gauge hooked up, you got to turn your motor over. A lot of people skip is you have to have your throttles held open. Because if they're shut, you're not going to get air into the motor. Because they're going to be restricting you. I mean, it makes common sense. So you're going to have either the carburetor off, even though that can give you a false reading because you're going to be getting a lot of air instead of just what goes through the carburetor. But anyway, hold your throttle blades open, then turn the motor over. Fucking solenoid. Okay, as you can see, you have just under 125. Now, bone stock, before I put this cam in, it was 150. So we actually lost performance, which is what I figured was going to happen. Now, if I advance that cam, I can probably bring that up a few pounds. But we're throwing the cam the fuck away and putting a real cam in it instead of this fucking Hughes cam. There's a lot of rule of thumbs when it comes to cams, and I try to tell people not carve them in stone, but they're, you know, when you don't really know much, they're a good thing to listen to. And that's compression versus cam duration, lobe separation angles, and the thing you want to look for on your cams is your overlap. The more overlap you have, the rougher the idle is going to be, and the higher up in your RPM, all your power is going to be. And I know a lot of people like that rumble, but myself, I'd really come out of the fucking driveway sideways, you know. At 35, when I stabbed the gas, I wanted to have to steer the car. Anyway, I'm going to start turning. Okay, I'm into it. I just want to explain something here. You know the dots in your gears? Now when I do these, I usually do 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Dot to dot. I do it on the exhaust. That way it's easier to see the dots lined up. Where if you're on your intake, so both dots are at 12 o'clock, it's harder to see the straight line and be accurate. So I do it on the exhaust side with dot to dot, and before I put the distributor in, I roll it up on the other stroke. But as you can see, this is a brand new chain, and it's only been driven 2 weeks. Now imagine if this motor could actually rev quick. You know, if this was cammed right, that chain would be stretched pretty good right now. Now you figure in the factor, like if it was a hydraulic roller, or God forbid a solid roller, where you got, you know, 300 or more pounds of spring pressure that you got to open, that chain would be stretched all the fuck. And that is a Cloy's timing chain. It's not like a fucking hop sinky thing. That's just kind of why I like to use gears. Gears don't stretch. But anyway, I got to roll the motor over, so I'm dot to dot. Pull my distributor gear out, rockers, lifters, and slide this fucking turd out. Here we are, it's all together. Getting ready to fire it up, break the cam in. Or nope, these fucking cheesy fuel lines. Tighten the shit out of them. Don't be scared to over tighten it. Make sure you hold this adapter piece that's in the carburetor tight with a wrench, and tighten this fucking fuel line nut. When you think you've got it tight, it's going to leak. So when you think you got it tight, tighten it a little bit more. Like always, I give the auto screw a couple cranks. Filled the carb with fuel, like I normally do with a hose through the vent tubes. I use as a bottle, you know, an empty gear bottle oil, with a piece of hose on it, and squared into the fucking bowls. Brake accelerator pump. Now that's going to sit for 20 minutes. And every now and then, come in and just burp the throttle. And what that does is it splashes oil around a little bit more. It doesn't create like a pattern, like a steady RPM does. You don't have to do it. That's just what I do. But you have to let it run at over 2 grand for around 20 minutes to break the cam in. Roller cam, you don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna go get something to eat. While this is breaking in, keep an eye on your temperature gauge. You don't want it to overheat. I think that's it. Oh, it's taken 5 hours to do this. we've got. Now we're back up to the over 10 fucking feet mark. So there's a difference between your Hughes cam and a fucking real cam. For this car, if it had 355s, it'd be a lot better. It's got 323s. It really should have had the cam smaller than what we get into it right now, which I think is a 265 or 262. Yeah, it's probably a 262. This one's a 268. But anyway, they get 10, 15 feet out of it. Right now, the comp cam and the Holley, well, quick fuel, same thing. With the Hughes cam and the edel, we got, I don't know, from there to there, what, 2 feet? And that was a stock one. So yeah, this is what I think about Hughes. And their fucking whiplash cam. Why they would call it a whiplash cam, I don't know, because you'd never get whiplash from it. See what you get for cylinder pressure. So we gained 25. Now this motor, I say we took the heads off again. I took it to the machine shop and shaved, say, 30 thousandths off. It would put this motor at just over 9-to-1, because technically this should be 8.5 if the book's correct, but who knows? Without seeing it, you don't really know. But if this cam I'd really like if it was like 9.5, it'd really wake this up good. Like I said, it really should have had the one smaller down from this fucking cam. The 600 double pumper is probably a little much for it. It'd be more responsive with a 2-barrel on it, like a 500. But I'm going to be doing a 360 for this car, so we're using that carb for the 360. And you know, there's a whole big runaround going on there, but if everything works out right this winter, I'm going to be doing aluminum head 360 for this car, which ought to be fun in the end. So maybe you guys will stick around for that one. So there it is, just the cam swap. We gained 20 pounds, 25 pounds, yeah, 25. And again, advancing it, I could get a little bit more out of it, a few more pounds, probably 5. What the advancing does is it makes your cam work faster. It does everything sooner than what the cam card says. So if it's opening, say, 10 degrees before top's dead center and then closing 30 degrees after bottom dead center, you advance it 4 degrees, that's all coming back down. So it's going to close 4 degrees sooner than what it was supposed to be, which helps build cylinder pressure. The cam is the most important thing in the motor. I mean, everything, all else aside, the cam is the biggest deal. You can fuck up anywhere else, but you fuck up on the cam, you ain't going to be happy with it. Now, I think the owner's going to be happy with this. It goes better than it did. It sounds better. And who knows, we might use that cam in the 360, but I'd really like to do 11-to-1 of the roller cam. Make something fucking nasty. But he also wants just a nice car to drive. So we'll see. Hey guys, I just took this for a ride. It goes good. Runs great. It's a little numb when you step into the 4 barrels. And I think the problem is, I have to look at the fucking card that came with it. It's probably a little fat. Now the primary size is 66 jets. Now I'm going to kick them down to 72s. And the seconds, you know, the 4 barrels, they got 72s, and I think they should be around 66, 68. It's just one of the things that, you know, you get the feel of by doing this year after year. You really should have had a vacuum carb on it, but like I said, that carb was bought to put on the 360. I'm just kind of using it for now. I'd almost like to throw the Edelbrock on it just to see the difference, because these fucking things, it takes forever for the 4 barrels to kick in because they work through fucking air. So I'm going to let that cool down. I don't know if I'm going to fuck with it tonight. Probably do it tomorrow after work. Pull the bowls off and jet it down. Then take it out and try it. See what it does. It's all part of doing it and getting it to be right. Without feeling this and doing this for a few years, like back in the 80s when I first started fucking getting into really fine-tuning these things, what you'd have to do is drive it and pull the plugs. You know, just drive it on your primary side, just cruise around, shut the car off, then pull your foot off the pedal. And look at the plugs. If they're black, you need to jet it down. If they're white, jet it up. If they're tan, leave it the fuck alone. Then you do the same on the secondaries. Get out and fucking hammer that thing for a mile. And shut it down, then lift your foot off. If you lift your foot off, then shut the key off, what will happen is we'll send a wicked rich fucking mixture to you. And give you a false reading. But anyway, you hammer it down, pull the plugs, and do a plug reading. If they're coming out black, jet it down. Little rule of thumb, people fucking say lean is mean. Well, the reality of the situation is you need a certain amount of air and fuel to mix together at a proper ratio. 2 strokes, yeah, they could tend to be a little fucking snappier when they're leaner, but if they were jetted right, you'd make more power. And it goes the same, if you're over jetted, you're going to lose power. But the thing with the over jetting is you're not going to run hot and burn something. But the car goes a lot better. I'm happy with it. Man, you can fucking lay rubber with it. It runs fucking really good. Passing is not a problem. I just want to jet it down and see what it does. Hey guys, I'm back with the roadrunner. Gonna jet it down. But I just want to show you how I do this. Because your carburetor is full of gas, you don't want to just pull your screws out, because you're going to take your bowls off. As soon as you pull the screws out, you're going to shoot gas out of it. So, what I do is I take the cap off of a spray can, and you got to check the caps, because some of them have holes. Why, I don't know. But some caps, for some reason, have just a little... Looks like you heated a pin up and pushed it through. You don't want a cap with a hole in it. Now technically, I could just pull that bolt and let this gas run because this motor's not hot. I mean, it's just a little warm. There's no risk of starting a fire, but I just don't want to spew gas all over it. Because it's going to run down on the paint, probably peel the paint off. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. But you get the bolt out. And you just catch the fuel in that little cup. It's going to trickle down and pretty much run out. And there it is. And you got a little bit running out that you can't catch in the cup. And that's it. It's only like a spoonful. See how easy that is? Now, I only need to undo one fuel line. Because if you undo this, technically you can tilt it, slide it out that way, that bolt will come off. So that's a plus. There's really nothing to it other, you know, undo your fuel line, take your 4 bolts out. Some of the older Holleys have a screw. There's no trick to it. If you got an old carburetor or one that doesn't have the non-stick gaskets, you're probably going to peel your gaskets, so it's a good idea to have new ones on hand. And before you put them together, spray it with PAM, you know, the non-stick cooking spray. So the next time you take it apart, it actually comes apart. Okay, here we get the bolt off. See the fuel line still in place. Now this is a new carb, and it's got the non-stick gaskets. I just pull the fucking medium plate right out to change the jets, instead of leaning over the car doing it. Not that there's any risk of doing anything to the car, just it's easier on the back to stand here and do it. And for doing them, you need a good wide screwdriver. If you don't have a good wide one, you could actually lay it down like that and twist it. I can't find, oh, here it is. So I got a pretty wide one. You can actually buy a jet screwdriver, but it's not really needed. There's nothing to it, they just wind right out like a regular screw. And you'll see little numbers on the side, that's the size of your jets. I don't remember what this one had, it was the other day I looked at it. Somewhere I have a fucking jet kit. Well, anyway, I'm going to swap these jets out. Okay, here's a jet. Hold on, let me shut this shit off. Alright. Here's a jet kit. As you can see, they're all numbered. I just took 66s out. I planned on putting 62s in it, but I don't have any, so I'm going to put 64s in it, because that's the smallest ones I have. And yeah, I could probably go over the pile of the carburetors here and take them apart and find 62s or somewhere around there, but I'll try the 64s. It's not a big deal to rejet. As you can see, it only takes minutes to pull the fucking carb off. Oh, and unlike you Edelbrock fucking guys, if you need to jet your Edelbrock, that is a pain in the ass. I'm going to try to do a video on carburetors pretty soon, but anyway. Under these on an Edelbrock, you have median rods, which go down into a jet that's in the very bottom of your carburetor where all the shit collects. These tend to run rich. Sometimes you can get lucky and change your rods out to a fatter rod and lean it out a little bit. But those carbs, I tell you, are a pain in the ass, and they work like shit. When you tighten these jets down, you don't have to crank them tight. Just snug them up good. They gotta be tighter than that, by the way. Power valve, I want to see what that is. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. But anyway, on your power valve, either on the sides or on the face, you'll see numbers. This one says 6.5 or 65 because it's a 6.5, which is 6.5. When your vacuum, your manifold vacuum drops below 6.5, that's when your power valve opens and sends extra fuel through your carburetor. A lot of people think that only works on wide open throttle, but that's not true. When you're driving down the road and you floor it, your vacuum drops below your 6.5. It's going to open your fucking power valve, even though you're not wide open going down the racetrack or down the road at 100. whenever your vacuum drops below what's rated on your power valve, it opens up and it sends fuel through your system. And I've seen, it's very rare, but I've seen a few of these cause stumbles off the line, where people start fucking their squirters when they actually had the wrong power valve in it. So when they'd punch it, the vacuum would drop below the power valve and it just sent too much fuel through the carburetor. Anyway, I'm going to snug these up, put this back on. Okay, I got the second plate off. I already swapped the jets. Take a note. There's no power valve in this. It's very rare that you need one on the streets. I mean, a full-blown race car might have 2 power valves. Most of them usually rely on a lot of jets. I just want to show you how I do the second bowl here. See, I didn't take the fuel line off. Just pull the way back out of the way. Now, I probably can't do this one-handed holding the camera, but the only trick of putting these back on is getting your lever for your accelerator pump back underneath the arm. I can show you better on the front one. Okay, there's your accelerator arm and lever. Like I said, that's the only thing that's going to give you a problem. You got to hold that with your finger and make sure you get that back underneath. Tighten these fucking bolts and screws. You don't have to crank them down. You kind of feel how tight they were when you took them apart. Put them in roughly that tight. Just, you know, make sure you can start the car to instantly check for fuel leaks. If you see it's leaking, snug them up a little bit. Now this one here, these quick fuels I like because they got Teflon washers behind the bolts. For a regular haul, you have like kind of a fucking punched paper gasket thing. They're thick though. And when you buy a kit, you know, it comes with new ones, of course. Oh, by the way, distributors go on the side of the carburetor. They don't go down bottom. I'll probably have more on that some of see, that's all there is to it. Now it took maybe 10 minutes because I'm fucking filming. The next thing to do is start it up. I still got to really tune this carburetor. I mean, I've got it so it runs and starts. I got to set the choke, because if you remember, I loosened the screws and leaned it out to the max to take the choke off to break the cam in. When you get these new, they're always set quite rich. Even here in Maine, where it's cold and snowy, you gotta loosen these and turn them a little bit, lean them out, like probably 2 or 3 notches. When I do it, I usually loosen these and turn that so the choke just shuts. Then I tighten them down and call it done. That way it comes off really quick once you start it. It doesn't want to choke the car out. And if you choose to start the car and just walk away, you can do that. You don't have to worry about the fucking thing not coming off and flooding out and being a pain in the ass. I gotta put a tack in the car, so I'm not gonna start it right now. I've got the heat on, the door shut, so I'm gonna put the tack in it. Then it's gonna be cool enough so I can probably set the choke a little bit. But I gotta fire it out, walk through the carburetor, the vacuum gauge, and all that stuff, and I'll show that to you. Hey guys, here's the tack that's going in it. One thing I like about the owner that owns this, he's pretty much my age. Actually, I think I might have a few years on him. I don't know. He's married, so he's got more grays than I do. So it's hard to judge his age. But anyway, like me, he's old school. Kind of stuck in the 80s, right down to the music. And that's why this car's got the slots on it instead of the rallies that were on it when he bought it and whatnot. And it's getting this Sun Super Tack 2, which is what we ran in the 80s. And yes, it's getting a hose clamp to the fucking steering column just like we did in the 80s. Okay, a few people that, I don't know, gone to a garage sale, whatever, and bought a tack. You're sitting there scratching your head, don't know what to do with the wires. Basically, the black goes to ground, the white's for your light, your red goes to constant power, and the green goes to your coil. But don't carve that in stone. That's just something you can try. The best you can do is Google a tack that you have, see what you can come up with. But in my experience, that's how they get wired. One thing I do see a lot of people running all their wires out through the fucking firewall. The only one you need to put through the firewall is your green wire for your coil to get your tack signal from. The rest you can wire right inside the car, right to your fuse box, your light wire, and the dash ground. Saves you from putting holes in the fucking firewall and popping out grommets and whatnot. Okay, I'm setting the choke up right now. Hold your throttle open a little bit. Well, first you loosen these screws in your choke. You can't see them with the front probably. Flashlight. There's your choke housing. You got 3 screws to hold that in place. Loosen them up good. And you'll be able to turn that counterclockwise or clockwise. Turn it clockwise, leans it out, opens your choke. Counterclockwise, it shuts the choke. Now to adjust it, you got to have your throttle open a little bit to allow for the linkage to slide through. As you can see, it's just barely shutting. The motor's still a little warm, so I'm going to call that good right there. And tomorrow, when I come out, there's frost on the pumpkin, I can fucking fire this up and see how the choke works. But it should be okay, it should be fine right there. Now tomorrow, what I'm going to do is, with you guys, is first you're going to take this out and run it, get it warmed up, because that's when you got to, tune your carburetor and shit. You can't do it when it's cold. I'm going to take this out in the morning or whenever I get my ass out of bed and run it. Warm it up. Then I'll walk through the tuning the carburetor, setting your idle circuitry and whatnot with a vacuum gauge. I did it by ear, real quick. Basically, this car's a 4-corner idle circuitry. See the secondary plate's got the screw? Your front plate has one too. All of them will have them on the front, on each side. Some of them, your 4-corner idle circuit, will have them out back. But most of you guys are going to just deal with these ones up front because that's what's going to be on your carburetor. But what you're looking for is to turn the screw in or out a little bit to a time till the motor smoothens out and you get the highest RPM at idle. Once you do, back your idle screw off over here for your throttle blades to get the idle back down. Then go to your other screw and do the same thing. With a vacuum gauge, you're hooking it to your manifold vacuum underneath the carb, and you're looking for your highest reading. Before I put this carb on, I wound all these screws in. Now listen up. 4-corner idle circuitry. I wound them all in, backed them off half a turn, and fired the car up. They were at a turn and a half, which is too much. If this is all you guys are just the front ones, you don't have the 4-corner, you just got your 2 up front. On the bench the bench settings, wind them in. You don't crank them down, just seat them. Wind them out a turn and a half, turn and a quarter, somewhere in that area, and you're good to go. The car will start and run. Then you fine tune it from idle circuitry on the carb. You'll note as you turn the screws, you gotta come down or either come up or down. What you want to do is watch your vacuum gauge. You want your highest, smoothest reading. Now, like I said, if your idle increases when you're doing that, and it should, if it's higher than you want, turn your screw down. Then you go to your next screw. And that's all there is to setting your idle.